Welcome to the Saunders College of Business 14th Annual Power Your Potential Conference and National Bread Day. Did you know it's National Bread Day? So eat your bread, forget keto. So thank you for being here today. I'm Darcy Lane, and during my 15 years here at RIT, I have served as a director, counselor, advocate, and administrator. I received the 2020 Edwina Award, and today I will be your 2024 Power Your Potential Mistress of Ceremonies. This is the only time that you can call me a mistress and I won't be offended. So now we are going to acknowledge where we are.
We begin this ceremony by acknowledging that the land on which we gather is the traditional territory of the Unandawaka, or the people of the Great Hill. In English, they are known as Seneca people, the keepers of the Western Door. Together with the Mohawk, Oneida, Onondaga, Cayuga, and Tuscarora, the Seneca make up the sovereign Haudenosaunee Confederacy. We honor and respect the enduring relationship that exists between these peoples and nations and this land. Yahweh.
So that video helps us to honor the native lands that this expansion, which is beautiful, and all of RIT is built on. Today, we will bring to you an amazing roster of speakers and panelists that will provide inspiration and insights for embracing innovation across today's changing workforce. I encourage you all to view their full bios on our event page as their accomplishments are too numerous to share in full here today. Sharing their stories, tips and tricks, and advice, our speakers specialize in fields across a variety of industries. With their years of experience in leadership roles, we hope that you find personal wisdom from their successes and tribulations. Let their discussions and presentations spring new ideas in you on how you embrace your personal abilities and great potential. At this time, I would like to invite Dean Jackie Mosrell to the stage to say a few remarks. Dean Mosrell.
Thank you, Darcy. And I did not know it was National Bread Day, but I did know that yesterday was Margarita Day, National Margarita Day. I don't know how many other people knew that, but it seems like every day now is some national day. So welcome to Saunders College of Business. We're so happy to have you here, hosting one of our first major events. And welcome to the Susan R. Holliday event space. Some of you might know the name Susan Holliday, former owner and publisher of the Rochester Business Journal. And also, I'm very proud to say, Saunders RIT alum, receiving her MBA from Saunders College. So thank you for joining us for our 14th annual Power Your Potential Conference. I know this will be a memorable conference with engaging speakers and networking opportunities, so please take advantage of those. I certainly, as I said, want to take the opportunity to welcome you here, and it really is a special day in our history, opening this event space for one of the first times. This expansion is already helping to drive creativity and innovation. Certainly one of the main pillars of this expansion was about bringing business and industry and organizations together to talk about important topics and drive creativity and innovation with our next generation of business leaders, which is you. The expansion includes collaborative team rooms, a state-of-the-art auditorium. We'll actually be having a women's faculty conference down there this afternoon, and applied research labs. And this center will serve as, I think, the preeminent university event space, one of, I think, the most beautiful event spaces in Rochester. But it also doubles as an experiential learning lab for our hospitality students. So we're already this spring teaching some of our most popular classes at RIT, classes like Wines of the World and Beers of the World. And they fill this space every Tuesday and Thursday. So Saunders College of Business is dedicated to the advancement of women through our full portfolio of undergraduate and graduate degree programs designed to meet the varied needs of leaders and learners. We have many highly regarded programs, including our Executive MBA program, which is consistently ranked in the top 10 in the nation by U.S. News and World Report. We also have a full portfolio of other highly ranked graduate and undergraduate programs at the intersection of business, technology, and leadership, both in person and online. So as I alluded to earlier, today kicks off our second annual Women's Weekend. It's our 14th annual Power Your Potential Conference, but we've now combined many different events to have Women's Weekend, including this conference. And then tomorrow we have another conference called the Women's Leadership Summit, where we'll have 300 students here on campus hearing from leaders. Some of you are in this room. So it certainly is going to be a very exciting weekend. Connecting women and allies and alumni who are going to share their career journeys with our students and help them to, on their path towards becoming aspiring leaders. And also, this year, another new event is, as I mentioned, this afternoon, we'll be having a women's faculty event, the Women's Faculty Leadership Summit that runs this afternoon downstairs in our new Guldenfinnig auditorium. I'd like to thank all of you for participating and engaging in these professional development opportunities. Some of our best learning begins when you get out of your comfort zone. Hopefully this conference provides a platform for you as leaders or emerging leaders to do just that, to develop insights on leading in an active and authentic way, and also continue to build your confidence and think about different opportunities, even if it wasn't what you were thinking as your plan for the future. I'm certainly honored to be part of this event as we prepare to celebrate Women's History Month in March. And then finally, I would just like to end with thanking a few people, because these types of events do not happen unless you have an awesome team of people working behind the scenes at night, in the morning. I mean, I was emailing Gabby last night. But I would like to thank Karen Humbert, Leah Giassi, Eric Kuhlman, Patty Phillips, Molly McGowan, Olivia Rontundo, Bill Sackman, Sandy Woodruff Whitmore, Liam Welch, but certainly special thanks to our events manager, Gabby Harrington Palmer, who really brings it all together for us. So let's thank all of them. So I invite you to engage in this wonderful program, get out of your comfort zones, take advantage of this opportunity, and enjoy your day.
Did you miss me? Lie to me. So we have a full agenda, but first we would like to thank this year's sponsors, supporting sponsors, I'm gonna butcher this, Conciliarium Group and First American Equipment Finance. So thank you for supporting this event. I'm gonna butcher it again. Conciliarium Group has a mission to help companies attract and retain talent by offering smart, employee-centric benefit programs. With over 200 combined years of experience, when you work with Conciliarium, you partner with a group of trusted, experienced advisors who go above and beyond to extend clients' expectations for quality service and outcome. So, national days are kind of like birthdays. You can have belated birthday, so belated National Margarita Day, so do what you will with that. First American Equipment Finance serves middle market and investment grade organizations throughout the U.S., focusing on technology, hardware and software solutions, and infrastructure improvements. Headquartered in Fairport, New York, First American is ranked among the 100 largest leasing companies in the U.S. and is a subsidiary of City National Bank. As a company that stands for building a business with passion and professionalism, we thank you for your partnership with this event. So thank you both for your support. We can give them there's really good food here, so I think they had something to do with that. All right, a few housekeeping items. Follow us on social at RIT Business and share your photos and experiences. This is going to be a great day, and it's sunny. Look at that. And it's Friday, and the day after National Margarita Day. And bread day, eat your bread. If you don't want it, I'll eat it. So bathrooms are located outside the doors to the left of the stage or out around the reception area. I checked them out myself. They're clean. I recommend them. During our breaks, make sure you connect with these wonderful ladies in the room and be sure to get their LinkedIn info or their email addresses. And once you have done this, tear off the bottom of the program and drop it in the jar for your chance to win a gift basket, which they have outside on the table. There might be alcohol in there. There will be beverages to the back for the entire day. So coffee is being provided by our Saunders alum at Winter Swan Coffee. So you may have seen that out there. And don't forget to network during lunch as you eat your bread. Now let's begin our day. It gives me great pleasure to welcome Stacey Wronkowski as our keynote speaker today. Stacey Wronkowski serves as Vice President of Digital Technology for United Airlines. And in this role, Stacey oversees the technology organizations for flight operations, in-flight services, network operations, and technical operations. Very important. She also leads the United Analytics and Employee User Experience organizations. Since starting her career at United 6 years ago, she has been a positive force for the organization in both her prior roles as the Director of Customer Contractor Center Technology, and most recently, the Managing Director of Contact Center, Crew, Catering, and Loyalty Technology. She is known at United as a customer and employee advocate, seeking changes that drive efficiency, but also has a vision for how we can reuse solutions across work groups. Please join me in welcoming Stacey to the Power Your Potential Conference. She will be sharing her keynote on Soaring to New Heights, a United Story. Stacey Wronkowski.
Thanks for the nice introduction. It's great to be here. I got to have my United water. It's very special water. Class of 2003, Saunders College of Business. Got a little lost this morning. It looks a little different, but that's okay. I said, keep your cool, keep taking steps forward. Oh wait, I can ask that person for help. And I managed to make it here. Change can be scary. It can be confusing. You can do all those things that I did this morning when things change around you. So when I meet people, they ask me, are you a pilot? Are you a flight attendant? I wish. It's a great lifestyle, and you can have an incredible career in those roles. And I'm not surprised by that, because those are some of the employees you see the most of. They're also roles that you think about when you're growing up. And so it would be an honor to be in one of those roles. But I picked IT. So believe it or not, we now have 15,000 pilots, and we have 25,000 flight attendants. And bigger than that, we have 100 100,000 people at United Airlines. We just crossed 100,000 last year. And so in a time where things are a little tough for some companies, we're hiring and we're growing. And we're really proud of that and the opportunities we're creating, because we went through a tough time, not just a couple of years ago, but throughout our history as an airline. All airlines have. So, 100,000 people, that's a lot. There's about 12 to 15,000 of us at the corporate support centers. We don't have a headquarters. And there's a reason for that. The 15,000 of us wake up every day to support all of our employees who are in the field. That's how we refer to being at an airport or being on an aircraft. That's why we exist. And that's a wonderful mission to wake up to every day. My team takes care of a lot of things for what we call the operation. And my bio has a lot of big, complicated words. But basically, we run the tech for pilots, flight attendants, catering, and the way we run the airline, the routes, the meteorology, et cetera, as well as maintenance. Maintenance is big at an airline. We have a lot of planes. And then I also have the analytics team. We like to keep them close to those functions because that's where we think there's a lot of opportunity to do more analytics. But we do analytics for the entire airline. And then employee user experience. A lot of people say, well, what the heck is that? These are our researchers and our designers that work with pilots, as an example. Sit shoulder to shoulder to figure out how to design the best technology. So that's what it is in a nutshell. But I haven't been here forever. I used to be here. That's sophomore year on the left, in an on-campus apartment. The game we were playing, it was game night, is called Racco. It's an oldie but a goodie. You can still get it on Amazon. That is an RIT mug, but that is a Syracuse hat. I don't remember, but there's probably a friend or something involved. But I knew somebody in the room would probably spot that. And so after RIT, I moved to Chicago, and I started my career in consulting. I spent about a decade in consulting, technology work. And some of that time was at Ernst & Young. And I worked in the Sears Tower, mostly when I wasn't at clients, because I traveled quite a bit, a little bit of a theme with me, mostly on like floors 10 through 15. And I had a great career at Ernst & Young. They taught me a lot in my 20s. They taught me about process. They taught me about quality. They taught me about being a road warrior. So maybe I didn't know how an airline worked, but I knew how to be a customer. They taught me how to work hard. Consulting is hard. A lot of jobs are hard. I am so grateful for that time because it's really the foundation after RIT that started to build who I was. But I reached a point, like many of us, where I asked myself the question, is something missing? And there was. While I had seen a lot of the world, seen a lot of companies, met a lot of people, learned a lot of things. I didn't own, but I delivered. And I wanted that. And so I decided to make a big change. I moved, I got a job at GE, and I took what some people called a demotion. But I never thought of it that way at all. I invested in taking a left turn or a right turn. There's more than ups and downs in life. There's more than two directions. And that was a huge lesson that I learned when I made this choice. So I went to Cincinnati, and owned something and was part of a small team. We were moving out of a mainframe and going to an ERP, for those of you that know how much fun that is. And I got to start on the first day of the project and saw it all the way through to the end. And then I got to own it and live with what we had done and stick around, which was very different than consulting, and it felt good. And so I knew I made the right choice. And I did a few more things over the years, and I moved again, and I took some slightly different roles, but always in technology. And I was in Atlanta, and I was happy, and I had a good job. But I missed Chicago. And so for the first time, I said, go make a decision just based on happiness. And so I said, well, I haven't interviewed in a while. So I called a friend, and I asked him for help. And he said, well, what kind of job are you looking for? I said, I don't know. He goes, well, you better figure that out before you get an interview. And we had a good laugh. And he really helped me. We had a conversation about what I wanted, what I liked, what I could do, what my strengths were, what I didn't want to do. It's important to talk about that too. And I really appreciated that he took the time to have that conversation with me. And then a couple of weeks later, he called. And he said, I think we have a job you should think about in Chicago. And I said, an airline? Are you crazy? I'm like, airlines are tough. They go through really tough times. They're always in the news. And he said, Stacey, we've been friends for a long time, and you obviously trust me. I'm going to ask you to do two things. He said, you have your MBA. Pull the 10K and do an MBA project. Look at the numbers and see what you see. It's probably going to be different than what you think. He said, number two, come visit us. And he wanted me to visit because he knew what would happen, because he was already there. He was at United. He knew I would have a great day. So United picked me up. Well, that's what they do. If you don't live in Chicago, they fly you. It's like the first day of school. It was the first time I sat on a plane and I wondered about all the things happening that I couldn't see. And I got excited. And then I'm like, wait, it's an airline. And the best part was, since I had left Chicago, EY moved to a different building in the city, a newer one, and United had moved into the Sears Tower. It's actually when it was becoming Willis. They changed the name. Some of us will always be Sears. And I walked into the lobby, and I hit the 10th floor on the elevator, and I was home. It was nostalgic. It was comforting, and it still was a little bit scary. So that's a notebook from EY. You see the address, Sears Tower. And it's a story of how you can be happy, and you can choose that. And you can have an amazing career too. And you can have a little adventure. And you should ask people for help along the way. We are surrounded by people who want to help us. And sometimes they do it on their own, and sometimes you have to ask. And it's funny where you might end up. Home. So let's talk about United. United has been changing. United's been through a lot. All airlines have. We are part of an industry that's very competitive, but there's a lot of things airlines work together on. Safety, great example. So United has a long story. Certainly, 9/11 is part of United's story. Bankruptcy is part of United's story. One of the largest airline mergers with Continental is part of the story. The part of the story that I've participated in over the last 6 or 7 years is their story of change. And it started with wanting to make our employees love United. We wanted our employees to feel good about United, to feel good about what we do. And we spent a long time building that culture. Because if your employees love who you are and what you do, then naturally that feeds to your customers. The other part of the story has been growth. So the pandemic was hard for the entire industry. Before the pandemic, we flew around 450,000, maybe a little less customers per day. There was a day in 2020 where we had more pilots flying than we had customers on the plane. We had 9,000 customers that day. And a lot of them were healthcare workers and other people that we wanted to help get where they needed to be to help, folks around the world. 9,000 customers. That was a really hard day. And so as an organization, we said very quickly, what are we going to do? And, we had to do some natural things like, you're clearly not going to fly the same number of flights a day. You're not going to have the same number of people reporting into work every day. You're not going to keep doing projects, right? Like you have to suddenly get very, it's like running your own house. Sometimes you got to tighten your belt. And so we did all those things. And then and that took a long time, by the way, and it was a ton of work. And then we reached this moment where you kind of it's quiet, and you look around the room and you say, what are you going to do now? The only thing is we weren't looking around the room. We were looking at each other on Teams. And we all said, we're gonna keep doing great things with what we have. And so we were really focused on what are the things we have to do so we can recover. Let's keep our pilots trained. Let's keep our flight attendants trained. Let's be thoughtful about the maintenance that we're gonna do so that we're ready when the day comes. And that's where United was really focused. And you can see by our numbers, we're 20% bigger now post-pandemic. So as we started to recover, we then executed our growth strategy, and we're still running the play. We placed the largest aircraft order in the history of aviation. Over the next 10 years, we're going to get 800 planes. And that growth has inspired so much energy, so much pride, and everything we're doing is for our customers. We want it to be fun to fly. We want it to be a good experience. We want you to have choice. From a technology perspective, we asked ourselves, how can we help? And in a moment where a lot of people, maybe even including me in that moment, we're kind of waiting for something around us to change, we said we're not going to wait. We're going to invest. We're going to start a technology transformation. And that's where the innovation spirit that we have now was reborn. Because I don't want to make it sound like it was the first time, right? Companies go through cycles with technology. And so it wouldn't be a conversation in a College of Business without a couple of metrics, so I threw these here, just so everybody can get a feel for how big we are. And so we have been adding destinations. The growth strategy is working. And we have been hiring. We didn't have those numbers I talked about in terms of employees. And by the way, we're going to keep hiring. And, for the aircraft that have been around, we're going to refurbish them all. And it's a really fun time to be at United. And so I want to talk about some of the innovation and pull that into maybe a couple of themes. So this is our award-winning mobile app. It really is award-winning. A colleague of mine, his name is Grant, is responsible for this with his incredible team. And I have the privilege to be able to just talk about the great work that they do. So live activities is at the top. That's an Apple capability. We didn't invent that. And this story of innovation is about finding something that exists and thinking about a way in which you can use it that's different. So if you use Lyft, you probably have seen live activities. If you lock your phone, they still tell you how far away your car is. Same concept. But our team said, what's all the information 2 hours before a flight you're constantly forgetting and looking for? What gate am I at? When is it going to leave? I don't want to miss my flight, all that stuff. Well, that's what's there. And with one click, it pops up, and so does your boarding pass. Innovation with something that exists, but putting it somewhere else. Innovation's a strength like any strength. It lives inside of everyone. But some of us, it comes a little more naturally. And for others, you just have to wake it up. And this is how you can wake it up. This is a fun one. Wilma. Has anybody heard about Wilma? It's okay if you haven't. Innovation is about looking at things that have been the same for a long time. How you board an aircraft hasn't really changed. There's a couple of differences in the industry. But, there's groups. You line up in your groups. Everybody gets on the plane. And I know no one here has ever been in the aisle watching the person in front of them putting their bag up and like the whole line and it's going up. You're right. That's never happened to anyone here, right? And so this is a story of innovation where we said, we're kind of intimidated to change this thing that's been like this for a really long time, but we're going to do it. So we built a team. And we got industrial engineers. And we got people from analytics. And we got people from the airports. And they mapped out different ways of doing it. And then we took it to the airport. And we tested it. And we got the data. That's the other important thing with innovation. You got to test it, and you got to get the data and ask yourself if it's working. And if it's not, then you need to change something and go get the data again and ask yourself, how's this going? So we did that. Now, why is the boarding process important at an airline? What's the most important thing at an airline? Safety. Trick question. Great answer. Safety. What's the second most important thing at an airline? Caring about your customers. What's the third most important thing at an airline? Leaving on time. Why does that matter? If you leave on time, you typically arrive on time. Who did that this morning? That's why the boarding process matters. There's a lot of things that can impact departure. The boarding process is one of them. And so we came up with some changes, towards maybe the second half of the boarding process with some groups. We gave it a cute name. It's called Wilma. It stands for it takes some of the letters from window, middle, aisle, right? And we're saving like 2 minutes. Innovation. This is one of my favorites. A pilot came to us years ago and said, hey, time and time again, I'm sitting in the flight deck. I'm looking out the window. I can see in the airport, the gate agent closes the door, and these people run up and they haven't got on the plane. Now, that's never happened to anybody here, right? It's never happened to me, no. The pilot said, and then we push from the gate like a couple of feet, and we sit there, and we wait. And those customers didn't get on the plane. He's like, now clearly somebody can do something about this. And we said, you're right. We have all the data. We have all the routing. And we know when we actually have to leave to get there on time. And so we built a product called Connection Saver. And it continuously runs and looks at customers that haven't yet arrived, particularly ones with connections. And it figures out and tells our employees if we can wait and how long we can wait and who those customers are. And you might even hear this announced once in a while. The pilots will often say, hey, we're holding for 4 people connecting. Our customers love it. Not just the ones connecting that we're holding for, the whole plane claps. It's really cool. We've saved over 1.5 million connections since it's gone live, and we're proud of that. Innovation. Listen to the employees. Listen to your colleagues that live things every day. They have great ideas. And you can test them and get the data. Accessibility. We built a technology team years ago to focus on making our mobile app more accessible. And what we learned from that was that the mobile app became easier for everyone to use. And so it is a thread in everything we do. Last year, we installed Braille on the interior of the aircraft. We were the first airline to do that. Our flight attendants will help everyone whenever they need it. They are wonderful people who care about you. But we also want our customers to feel independent when they board the plane, when they're finding their seat, when they have to go to the restroom. So we did this. Innovation sometimes is about doing something first so everyone else comes with you. And that's our story of innovation. And so I hope I'm inspiring a little bit of joy about what it's like to work at United. And we don't talk a lot about our jobs, because these aren't just jobs, these are careers. These are careers. In digital technology, and we've got it company-wide, but I'm part of digital technology, we have early career development programs. We have business resource groups where people come together for different purposes. We have leadership academies. We have a lot invested in training and development. Because we realized when you know what you're doing, you feel a lot better at work. And you do a great job. So, I said earlier, careers. I've had a lot of ups. I am a very lucky person. I've had some downs. That's life. And I've taken some lefts and some rights. And I've always reminded myself of two really important things to me. That I really am the one responsible for my career and where it's going. And the other one is, back to that point, there's a lot of people around you that want to help you. And those are important things. And so empowerment is part of the story too. Empowerment's tricky to talk about because it means something different to everybody. Empowerment is something you can do for yourself, it's something you can do for others, and you probably need to keep a balance with those. Or not probably, you should keep a balance with those. Empowerment sometimes takes courage. Sometimes you need courage to volunteer, to do something different, or like to do something outside of your direct responsibilities. That's something one of my colleagues described to me this week when I asked them about empowerment. Empowerment is about going places where you don't know anything. And figuring out how to exist there and figuring out how to learn. Travel can help with empowerment. And I'll talk about that at the end. All right, I had a special request to talk about Gen AI, so we're gonna take a big right turn now. Gen AI. So there's a lot of conversation around Gen AI and around artificial intelligence. I want to take a minute to talk about like what are these things. So AI is like sports. There's a lot of AI. There's a lot of different kinds of AI. Just like you have basketball, football, baseball, and then within it, you have different levels, right? You have JV, you have varsity, you have college. I'm not talking about the Super Bowl. I have no business doing that. And I know where I am in terms of Bills country. It's okay, I'm a suffering Bears fan. I've got a soft spot for the Bills, too. But AI, like there's lots of different kinds of AI, and Gen AI is just another type. And there is tremendous conversation about Gen AI, and you can see some of the headlines. Gen AI is also one of the most rapidly adopted technologies that we've ever seen. It's gone from a few people to millions very quickly. Why is that good? Well, when you have a lot of people involved in something, then typically you should be able to steer it in the right direction versus when you have a few people involved. And so, the leaders of Google and the leaders of OpenAI, I think, have done a nice job talking about this in many, many discussions you can go find out there and watch. And some of the things they've talked about that have got me thinking is, this is a matter of intense debate. And one of them highlighted an interesting thing to think about. He said, do any of us know how the human mind works? No, we don't. We haven't figured that out. Okay. Do any of us know, and I'm paraphrasing, but do any of us know, when someone tells me something, if it's true? Well, no, unless I'm an expert in that. But I can ask them. I can say, what's the basis for that thought? Or where'd you come up with that? Or tell me more. And so there's two big takeaways I'd like everybody to have with Gen AI before I talk about it a little bit more. One, it's real and it's happening. And two, it's your job to be a skeptic. To my point on, there are unknowns, and sometimes it does give you the wrong answer. It gives you made-up information. Well, that can happen to you other ways. So it's your job to be a skeptic and help steer where this goes. It can also be an incredible tool. So, a little background. AI models human behavior, repeatable. Think about self-driving cars. You give it a data set, and it goes and it does that, and it doesn't care about French literature or any other topic, right? It's a controlled data set. Machine learning is the next step where, as it gets more data, it learns. Netflix is a great example. It pays attention to what you're watching and learns and then makes suggestions to you. Why does it do that? They don't want you to change the channel. They want to show you, they know what you want to watch, and they have those wonderful things for you. It's brilliant. That's machine learning. Gen AI is different. Gen AI creates. That's where generative comes from. Gen AI is also different because it's moved beyond that controlled data set of, hey, I know all the movies out there and I know what you're watching, and it read the internet. Has anybody here done that? No, you can't. Even if you dedicated your life, you just can't do it. And so generative AI takes all of that information and it's able to create. Well, how does it create? It's based on probability. Gen AI looks at all the patterns and all the things it's gotten and says, well, the probability is the next word will be this. That also means sometimes it might be wrong. And that's why being responsible with it, being a skeptic, really understanding and looking at what it gives you back and asking yourself, can I use this or not, is important. You can also have a lot of fun with it. DAL-E, D-A-L-E, cool tool. It creates images. So you can say, hey, today is National Bread Day. Show me a bread party at the Saunders College of Business where everybody's wearing red. And it'll generate an image. Now, some of these are really funny and they're not quite right, but it's getting better. And so back to that point on, this is happening. You'll hear a lot of buzzwords around oh, this version's coming out, that version's coming out. You'll hear all these product names. It's happening, and the models are getting better. Okay, so what does that mean for me at work? Well, there's an incredible opportunity to help you create things. And what I think is we have to get comfortable, like we have with other technology, of having Gen AI side by side with us, like your phone. It's like an extra arm you have. For me, it's a suitcase. No, the phone too. But you have to get comfortable having this technology side by side with you, helping you work. There's a lot of questions around, is it going to replace me? No, it's going to change the way you work, just like cell phones did, just like a lot of other software did. And that's the comfort we have to get, but we have to be responsible. And so if you take this back and you're having conversations at your organizations around Gen AI, or any AI for that matter, having a responsible framework and the right people in the room looking at how we're going to use it And cybersecurity is a big part of this, by the way. So is legal, and so is procurement, and so is finance, and so is HR. Like, that is a key piece to being able to successfully harness this technology and do something with it. And so I wanted to make sure I had that as part of the message today. That's Gen AI in a nutshell. So travel. I'll close here and then maybe we can do some Q&A. Travel has been part of my empowerment story from the beginning as a consultant. It pushes you to be uncomfortable. You only have so many things in your suitcase for this many days. That's it. And if it doesn't work out, I gotta go buy something, but you might be somewhere where you can't. And buying pants, forget it. That's like a Saturday 4-hour activity for me with so many stores. It pushes you, you gotta work in the constraint. It takes you to places where you don't know people. And you have to build relationships. And you have to learn how to first identify the system and then navigate it. I was gonna cross the street once in Switzerland. And being a Chicago person, I'm like, well, there's no cars coming. But the signal hadn't turned that tells you it's okay. I got 2 steps in and this guy said, hey, you're setting a bad example for the children. I was so embarrassed. I'm still embarrassed. It was like a decade ago. I have never done that again, not even in Chicago. It's dangerous. Safety. You gotta figure out the system and you gotta operate in it because people will tell you if you don't. I mean, I haven't even gotten into the language element, right? But you get to see how big the world is. And you get to learn and you will grow. And maybe everybody doesn't have the means to go to Tahiti. Be nice. We fly there. But if you live here, you live in a beautiful place with a lot of places you can visit. Go to the Corning Museum of Glass. Spend the day. The things you see will amaze you. And you will learn and you will grow. Go to the Finger Lakes. Go to the Adirondacks. Go to Niagara Falls. I lived in New York my whole life. I grew up in Schenectady. I went to school here. I didn't see Niagara Falls until I was almost 30. We all do this. You don't visit the places where you live. I missed a few my first round on Chicago. Thank God I went back. I can check them off now. Travel the world. It'll make you richer. Thank you.
We are authentic people. We take care of each other so we can take care of our customers. Our customers can feel that.
It really does feel like a family. It really does feel like we're all in this together to reach a shared goal. I feel excited to be an employee at United.
You can definitely feel the change and feel the momentum shift. We are innovative, we are inclusive, and we make our customers proud.
United Next is working. We're growing at an unbelievable rate.
We're able to move forward and do things the right way.
Every day brings a different set of challenges, but nothing is insurmountable.
I just love being in this exciting industry. The world is your oyster here. You can do anything, go anywhere.
We want to change the world. We want to connect the world. We want to unite the world. We dare to lead. That's what we do.
People affect the culture. We are caring.
We are professional.
We are committed.
We are proactive.
We are welcoming.
We are united.
We're the greatest airline in the history of aviation.
I'll take questions.
So I've had really wonderful experiences flying United, so thank you for everything that you do.
Thank you.
Yeah, but we've been talking a lot about culture at our organization, and 100,000 people is bananas. How do you, like, what's your North Star as an organization and your mission and your culture, and how do you get everyone moving in the same direction, making that employee culture you were talking about?
Yeah, it started a few years ago when I was talking about that change, and we developed what we call the core 4. And the first one is safe. The second one is caring. The third one is dependable. And the fourth one is efficient. And it has been a thread in everything we do. And it took a lot, first of all, to develop that. I mean, the safety and the caring, that was easy, but we're like, what are the other ones and what order do they go in? We were very thoughtful about the order. And then the big effort is, you know, there were roadshows and conversations and town halls and change champions, bringing those conversations across the organization, and, you know, at the corporate support centers, like into meetings. You really have to live it. You have to make it a part of who you are, but you have to have it be like steady. You can't just say like, oh, core 4, and then never talk about it. And so I think it's even been 5-6 years since, because it was happening right as I joined. That really like set the North Star for who we wanted to be. And it was funny, you'd be like in a conversation, or I'd be standing in a galley talking to a flight attendant, and they'd be like, well, that's not efficient. And I'm like, oh, they're right. So that's done a lot for us. Thank you.
So I'm curious who your mentors have been over your years.
That's always like such a personal question.
I know, because I've attended this event numerous times, and it's a big part of what a woman's life, I feel.
Yeah.
So I'm always curious.
Yeah, so my dad, he's probably gonna find this on the internet. My dad was a high school calculus teacher, and so he was very plugged into education, and he knew the value of education, and so certainly there were some rules in my house growing up. And I looked at him when I was in 9th grade and said, Dad, I want to be an actress. Because I loved it, and I was in every play, and it just was where I felt alive. And he said, yeah, there's this thing called computer science. It's going to be huge. And I was like, oh. What my dad saw was my talent and my happiness with acting. And he saw it as a strength. And then he heard about this program called MIS. And he saw, because I couldn't see it, you know, nobody can tell you anything when you're 14. He saw how it could come together, but be coupled with, you know, something that we knew, and it was already going when I came here, was going to be a big career space. And so when we talk now, he's like, I just wanted you to have options. He's like, it's not that I didn't want you to go to New York and be an actress. I wanted you to have options. So my dad was that person for me, and still is. I'm very lucky. I'm going to go see him in a couple of weeks. So that's one. 2, I found a healthy mix between like people at work and people outside of work. Because you have to have some independence, but you also have to have somebody that you can call, and you don't have to like tell them the story from the very beginning and explain who Stacey is, and you know, I didn't want to pick anybody's name, so I picked my own. And when you find someone and you have that connection, hold on to it. But that means you have to work at it. The thing about relationships is there's 2 people in them. There's you and there's me. And both people have to work at it, and both people have to give. And mentoring is no different than your friends from college that you lost touch with, and we all know why that happens, right? or a family member that you talk to once a year because it's Christmas, right? You have to work at them. And there's only so many you can have, right? There's a limit to these things. When you find a good mentor that's helping you, keep that connection. There's a person I worked for at EY who has since retired. And when I really need someone, that's who I call. And I buy him a beer once in a while. Yeah. Thanks for letting me share, though. Anyone else?
I was going to ask you about your suitcase, but I had another question. So you can tell me that later. But it's along the same line. So you're always traveling and you are meeting a lot of people. So how do you find your center point when it seems like you're in a whirlwind most of the time?
Yeah.
And you have to often seem like be the stronger one or the wiser one in the situation because you're leading people. So how do you come back to yourself in that?
Yeah. At work, whether it's travel or other things, the best advice I have is you have to figure out where your boundaries are, and then you have to set them. Nobody at work's going to set them for you. You are. And I've certainly had some downs where I hadn't set them, and suddenly, like, you know, I didn't have that time, and I maybe didn't have hobbies, and I was watching everybody going to happy hour going, what am I doing at my desk? I learned that maybe the hard way, but I learned it probably right around 30. And I experimented with it. Like, I set a boundary all of a sudden and was like, oh my God, I'm going to get fired. And I didn't. I think I got a compliment. So whether it's travel or anything, you have to figure out what works for you. And I do travel a lot, but I love it. It is a big part of who I am. And I don't want to change that, at least not right now. The other thing is I appreciate your comment on having to be strong. What I've learned at United is you don't always have to be strong. People are feeling things. Things are happening in lives. People have babies. You lose a loved one. Somebody's sick. It's okay to show that, even when it's happening to you. And that opens up a lot in a relationship because people suddenly realize they're not alone, including you. And when you get a new area of responsibility, I mean, like I said, I didn't know a lot about an airline other than how to be a customer, let alone tell them how to run an ops center, right, with technology. Because I don't tell them how to run the ops center. I say, here's what we can do with tech. You have to be humble and look at your team and ask them to teach you. You are also surrounded by people who have incredible expertise. And you'll be surrounded by people sometimes that have done something for a long time in order to get that expertise. And to ask them to share that with you is the biggest compliment you could give them for the investment they've made in their career. And so that humility and maybe not being strong in that moment can work wonders.
I have a quick question. Just a comment. I loved how you talked about the importance of stepping out of your comfort zone.
Thank you.
Facing your fears, and that the trajectory of your career is not always up and down, but sometimes it's left and right. You just elaborate a little.
I think sometimes we're like afraid to take a lateral, right? Everybody's like, no, the next one's got to be a promotion. And there's so many different roles and responsibilities and skills you can get. I certainly can tell you, I'm not going to say names, but like I can say like, hey, this person loved this thing, they dedicated their career to it, and they did have what's called like a vertical path in that function, right? And then I know a lot of other leaders that look like the picture we had that's kind of like this. And mine's been like that. Because for me, it was about what thing over here can I do that'll be different, that makes me smarter on something or grow on something or see something differently. It's like golf. I do like golf, right? What does everybody do in golf? They go to the driving range and they practice hitting that ball as far as they can, right? So you can drive it however many yards. You rarely see people working on chipping and putting. And so what happens? You get up there, you hit a beautiful drive, walk down the fairway, and then it's a chip, 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 and a putt, 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 and you're finally in the hole. And like, it's a terrible score. By the way, that's me. Chip, 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 putt, putt, putt. But I get out there. You have to think about the long and the short. You can draw a parallel to acting. Meryl Streep. Who's the guy from Oppenheimer? Cillian Murphy. Cillian Murphy. Been reading about him because of that movie. You can draw parallels to the investment that he's probably made in his acting career. He had to develop a skill. He had to pay his dues. So it's like, finally he gets something, what was it? The Wind That Shakes the Barley. And then he's in Peaky Blinders, so he did like the Netflix series thing. And now he's in Oppenheimer, and there's probably a lot more that I didn't list. I can't do it justice. So he had to find the right roles. I guarantee you if he was here, and I don't know him, but he'd say some of those weren't the right roles. And I had to deal with that. It's the same thing in a career. You have to do these things so that you can then say, my value is this. Thank you.
What's your most memorable travel experience and why?
I love that question. I hate picking one. Japan. So Japan, it's far, so there's a little bit of adrenaline with that. Tokyo, huge city, concrete jungle, lots of action, amazing food, lots of people. Talk about like there's a system you have to figure out, very organized, very rules. At rush hour, there's somebody that actually like encourages more people to get on the subway. I mean, it's just incredible. There's a lot of people. And then you can take the train, the high-speed train, to Kyoto. Small, quiet, cherry blossoms. If you're in the right place at the right time in the evening, you might see a geisha walk to work. There's some incredible tour guides out there, by the way. When you travel to places like this, don't be afraid to book a tour. You're a tourist. Everybody's like, oh, the tourist. It's like, I am one. Get help from someone locally. You'll learn 10 times as much. So it's just a magical place. And there's so many other cities, but I think of that one a lot. We sure do. Nonstop from the West Coast. I'm trying to think. I think we have a nonstop too from O'Hare. It's been a while. I don't mind the fun questions, by the way. I'll take the serious ones too.
Thank you for keeping RIT in your heart and fitting us into your crazy schedule. I can't imagine what it's like. You mentioned in the beginning of your talk going to a party, going to a social event. Hey, I work at United. How often are people saying, are you a stewardess? And how do you respond to that with grace?
Yeah, almost every time, unless they know a little bit more about me, I get the flight equipment. But it's a compliment. It's an incredible career. For every opening we have to be a flight attendant, hundreds, sometimes thousands of people apply. Talk about being able to see the world. It's also a different schedule. So, you know, you don't work Monday to Friday, 8 to 5. You might work a few days, be on the road, and then you're home, and you could have 5 days. And you can manage your schedule. You know, the number of years you've worked is certainly an influence. That's the system that's designed for crew that they've designed, you know, with companies like ours. But it's an incredible career. And so I take it as a compliment. And then I'm happy to say, like, no, I work with computers. And that usually breaks the ice. And everybody goes, oh, I never thought of that. But yeah, it happens a lot. It's not a bad thing. It's a great thing. Somebody will keep me honest on time. One more.
Can you talk about your leadership style and how you empower your direct reports and build their careers?
I wish they were here. Would they say what I'd say? You know, some of the things I said before, it's all anchored in, well, actually, I'll just tell you a different story. When I was going to interview for my first people leader job, I called a different mentor, and I said, I got this interview, like, help me. And they said, okay, what's the first thing you're going to do when you get the job? And I'm like, learn the area, meet business partners, talk to my new boss. And he's like, wrong. He's like, go get to know your team. And he said, Stacey, without your team, you have nothing. And so I think about them every day, and I think about what are the interactions that we should be having so that I can help them. Like, you just make that a big part of yourself as a leader. And when they get the courage to tell you you're doing something that's annoying, listen to them. Yeah. All right, Peggy. Some things never change. Peggy was one of my professors. You know, you're really excited and you're really proud. Like, it's okay to feel that. You should. Because people see something in you where they suddenly want to trust you with other people's careers. And so the biggest memory I have, and it's the advice I give when I get the question, is one day you wake up and you're responsible for these things. These are things I have to do. These are my goals. There's a lot of me, right? That's okay. And then you wake up the next day and you're like, oh, that's only a portion now. Now I'm responsible for a team's goals and a team's activity and how we get things done. And that's a big change. And it doesn't actually happen overnight. You just feel it. And you got to work on it. Where'd Peggy go? All right, that's a wrap.
Thank you, Stacey, for the enlightening and passionate presentation, and funny. I always appreciate funny. Speaking of people named Stacey, I knew she was going to be awesome, A, because I know a couple of things, B, because she was here when RIT had dots, and C, my boss's name is Stacey. I've never met a Stacey that I don't like and admire, and my boss hasn't fired me, so I think I'm doing well. So we now have a short mix and mingle break. So please return to your seats by 9:45, but by all means, eat some bread. No pressure. Welcome back, everybody. So as you know, we're going to have an interactive panel, and before we get started, I'm going to direct you to the two sides of the room where we have folks with microphones. So when it's time, there's Peggy. When it's time for, and I don't know your name. Jancy, that's a cool name. And Jancy over there. Say hi to Jancy, everybody. I embarrass people whenever I can. All right, so we got mics on both sides of the room, and we have two amazing interpreters, so please wait for the mics because it actually makes it easier for the interpreters. And our friend right here, every time I see her, I hear, yep, anybody get that reference? No? Courtney Cox, Friends? Never mind. All right. Somebody got it. All right. Allow me to introduce today's panel. They will be discussing embracing innovation across today's changing workforce. We'll begin by inviting our panelists to come up to the stage, and you can pick any see-through chair you want. Let's first welcome Lindsay Connolly. Lindsay is a 2011 marketing and 2018 MBA graduate of Saunders, and while obtaining her MBA, she decided to start her own business, Linden Digital Marketing. What began as a one-woman operation has quickly grown into employing 14 local marketing experts. Lyndon more than doubled in size in each of the last 2 years. Lindsay was named an RBJ 40 Under 40 honoree in 2022 and Emerging Tech Woman of the Year by Tech Rochester in 2023. When Lindsay isn't working on her thriving business, she invests her time in raising her 2 young children, rock climbing in RIT's Red Barn, and volunteering as a board member for Journeys of Solutions Incorporated, St. Anne's Foundation, and Home Acres, Brighton. You're quite busy, aren't you? Lindsay is a proud member of the Rochester community who gives back through her time, talent, and leadership. So welcome, Lindsay. Next, I would like to invite Tashonda Thomas to join us. Tashonda is the Chief Human Resources Officer at WXXI Public Media, including the Little Theater and City Magazine. In her HR roles, Tashonda is a passionate advocate for diversity and inclusion for all people and cares deeply about the needs of others. Tashonda is active with volunteer work and service in Rochester, serving on many boards and task forces. She is the chair of the Willow Domestic Violence Center Board. I used to work there, cool place. St. John Fisher University Alumni Board member and the YMCA HR Committee. Tashonda is a commissioner for the City of Rochester Civil Service Commission, a founding member of 100 Women Who Care, ROC, and an Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated member. Tashonda is a 2023 OnCon Icon Top 50 Human Resources Professional Award winner, a 2023 NHRA HR Executive of the Year finalist, and a 2022 Rochester Business Journal Women of Excellence honoree. It keeps going because she's done a lot. A 2022 Athena Young Professional Award finalist, a 2021 Making an Impact Award winner from the Rochester chapter of the National Human Resources Association, a 2020 St. John Fisher College 10 Under 10 honoree, a 2019 you're busy, 2019 Greater Rochester Chamber of Commerce Ignite Future Leaders Award finalist, and a 2018 Rochester Business Journal 40 Under 40 honoree. I know, take that all in. It's a lot for me to say. Tashonda is a United Way African American Leadership Development Program graduate and holds degrees from MCC and St. John Fisher University. Tashonda has her PHR and SHRM-CP certifications and is a wife and mom. Welcome. And our third panelist is Liz Vega. Liz Vega is an award-winning marketer and Emmy-nominated and former television journalist. In her most recent role, Liz served as Vice President, Head of America's Marketing, Xerox Corporation, where she was the president of the Hispanic Association for Professional Advancement. She has held leadership roles in internal and external communications and public relations, working with senior leadership in over 100 countries. She holds degrees from Michigan State University, Nazareth University, and the Tuck School of Business at Dartmouth College. At RIT, Liz was recognized as a Distinguished Minute Professor. Liz serves on several boards of directors, including the YWCA of Rochester and Monroe County, where she has served as chair, and at Lifespan of Greater Rochester, serving as secretary of the board of directors. Liz and her husband reside in Pittsburgh, New York, with their 2 daughters. So now let's dive in and hear from our panel experts about negotiation. So I'm going to put out some questions to our panelists. I can't make you do anything, but I'd like you to answer the questions. And then you will all get a chance to ask the panelists some questions afterwards, okay? All right, so here's our first question. Can you talk about your journey and share a piece of advice or something valuable that you have found in your career?
Am I first?
You can be first for all those awards. Yes,
all right.
You go right
So the journey question is always a loaded one for me because it's always, okay, which journey do I want to take you all down? But what I will share today is that our former, I don't know if you were the keynote, Miss Kim B. Miller, but she talked about how she was told a lot of no's. So that was my journey, where I was told a lot of no's at one point during my career path. And what I will tell you is that what helped me was having an awesome village. So if there's one thing that you take from me, is to make sure you have the right people in your corner. So for me, it was my family, my friends, my mentors, which was also something that you heard earlier today as well. But it was also having awesome bosses who supported my growth and my development. So all of those things during a time where I felt very defeated, I guess would be a good word to use, those folks were the ones that reminded me of who I was. And I don't say that arrogantly, that I'm Beyonce or anything like that, but I say it confidently in knowing that things don't always last long, or it won't be this way forever. And so for me, it's always about having the right people in your corner to get you through those hard times.
Thank you.
I would agree in terms of the right people in your corner, and there will be different people who you look to for different things. So I think sometimes people talk about mentors. There also are sponsors, right? Those are the people who are in the room when you're not, who speak about you. And they're able to speak about you. I guess the 2 points I would leave you with are your brand. You're in charge of that. What do you want that to be? Do you want people to say, they always are the ones who respond first? They're always the ones who, in a meeting, particularly the meetings that aren't going as well as we'd like, can find something positive and perhaps shift the meeting in a way that's productive. My brand that I've worked very hard on is that I deliver. So whatever role I'm in, you might spend 2 years as a social media manager, you might spend 2 years as an HR specialist, you might spend another 2 years, running a company. What is it during that 2-year period of time that you want to be known for that's going to contribute to your brand? Very often when I coach women, I'll say, think of your LinkedIn profile. What are the 2 bullets? And not just what are the 2 bullets, but what is the metric that you're going to put on that bullet? I transformed operations and increased productivity by 28%. The number of people who responded to my email increased 41% year over year. What is that metric in that bullet? So that's the first point. My second point would be, this is a long game. This is a long game. So where you are today may not be where you are in 10 years, may not be where you are in 20 years. Again, it goes back to your brand. You have a choice over where you take yourself. And sometimes we feel like we're at the mercy of bosses or the mercy of companies restructuring. No, you are in charge of your brand. You are in charge of where you take yourself. So those would be my 2 points, brand, and it's a long game.
Thank you. Lindsay?
And to tie into your point about having a brand, and I love that you tied back to her too, was that Linden, our North Star, is to be the best ROI marketing agency or marketing firm. And I got there through, and what I liked about Stacey and Kim's talk was just the variety of experiences that they had, because I started out in film and animation at RIT, ended up in finance, then went to marketing, didn't have everything figured out, ended up in a bunch of different startups, which obviously fail at a high rate, but you just pick up all these experiences along the way, and then figure out what made me want to wake up every day and go to work is to deliver results for our clients. And I found that at some of the agencies I was working at, or the startups that I was working at, the marketing firms that we were working with weren't really delivering in a way that I would hope that they would. And I was like, I'm going to create something different, and I'm going to be radically honest with people. I'm going to tell them when something's not working, and that's going to be my North Star, and that's what we try to deliver every day, and that's why we've grown so much so quickly, because our clients pick up on that. So the 2 things that I really incorporate into my job and that overarching have helped get us there are storytelling. So that helps people remember stories. That helps me in sales. It helps me with inspiring people. And then relationships. Everything's about relationships. I would walk through fire for my employees. They're amazing. So and also for our clients and making sure that we show up for them and do right by them every day. So relationships and storytelling for me are the two big things that I work hard for.
Thank you. Okay, so our next question. How are you seeing people use artificial intelligence in your organization or industry, and how has it disrupted your industry?
Okay, I'll take
I have so many thoughts.
Listen, and I'm glad the both of you do, because I'm new to AI. I will be brutally honest that I did not really dive into AI when it was kind of like the thing. I mean, it still is a thing, but it really was something that I just really didn't pay much attention to until I saw the LinkedIn profile photos, and I was like, okay, everyone is like into this AI thing with their photos and things like that. I need to pay attention. But going back to public media, which is what I'm in, more recently I'm seeing there's a lot of conversation centered around how we're going to engage our audiences, how we're going to start to create our content and produce things that people are going to want to see and engage in from the standpoint of AI. And so we're still figuring that out. About a month ago, I was on a session with fellow HR leaders that are in public media, and the conversation was great, but we're all still figuring it out. And it is a feel-good feeling, I guess, when you know you're not the only ones figuring things out. So that was, helpful for us to say that we're not too far behind in where things are as it relates to AI and public media. Personally, as an HR professional, though, you start to think about AI, is that going to take away from the human side of my job? So are we going to start to lose people because we're relying so heavily on AI? With utilizing AI, could some biases come into play where we're starting to miss things because we are, again, relying so heavily on AI? So I don't know where I'm at on the spectrum of AI, as in, am I for it or am I against it? I'm somewhere in the middle and still trying to see where, we kind of land on that. But I defer to my two co-panelists who have way more experience.
So I love AI. When it came out, as someone who's like really bad at spelling, it's just an awesome way to check that quick in grammar. But then on top of that, like coming back to our North Star of being the best ROI marketing agency that we can possibly be, I told all of my employees who were also kind of like, oh, I don't know about this. I was like, listen to this podcast, read this article that our director of ops had about it, learn like the cautionary tales, make sure you don't do this. But basically, I was like, anyone who has an expertise in their field, use it to make you faster. So I'm analytics, have some MIS background, and I use it to help me with like CSS or HTML stuff where I'm already an expert, where I can be like, all right, Chat GPT, you're drunk, go home, you didn't do this right. But I can check it, right? But I'm not gonna do something with Python, but our director of ops will. Gabrielle, who's from our team here, she's an amazing writer. Maybe she'll use it to like come up with some quick prompts to make her faster. So it's a tool like anything else, and I don't want you to rely on it. I hope at our company it's like, all right, just take this with a grain of salt, use this as a tool like anything else.
I also love AI. I find it fascinating. Sometimes I'll use it as a prompt, and I'm a writer by trade, and sometimes, I suppose it's like a painter or any other creative, sometimes I can't think of words, which is, crazy because words are my thing, and I'll use it as a prompt. What would you say in this situation? And it'll pop out, this, and I'm like, no, yeah, maybe that. And it'll be a kernel of an idea that I can then write the whole piece that I'm thinking of. I also think we have to be careful with it because some of the information is incorrect. So, just like any kind of fact checking, I'm a former journalist, you have to make sure that what it is you're piggybacking on and using as a prompt is actually correct. I also think that it does not replace creativity. I've traveled around the world, and I was in Singapore working, and I was in a conference room, and they put me in there, and they said, tell us how you came up with the idea. We want to replicate it. It was a marketing campaign. And I said, I don't know, I was on a plane flying from A to B, and I started thinking about solving this problem, and it came to me, and they said, no, can you chalkboard it for us and tell us so that we can automate this idea? And I said, that's not really how ideas come to me. I get it, what you're trying to do. So I don't think AI or any process management is going to take away creativity. And RIT, as a former professor here, stands for creativity and innovation. And so those of you who are here, in large part, I think we're probably attracted to the innovation and the creative component. So I don't think it will replace it. I think it helps supplement it.
Thank you. So now shifting to something a little different, talking about mental health. Mental health has become a significant area of focus in the workplace in recent years. In what ways is your company innovating to support the mental health needs of your workforce?
You're gonna know way more than me because you're in HR. I'm super pragmatic about it. So one joke that I have with my employees is I would much rather you tell me that you need a $1,000 computer than waste $1,000 of time on a, garbage 97 Microsoft computer. So for me, mental health is pragmatically really good for business. If your mind's sharp, if you're getting exercise, if you need medication, if you need to see a therapist, I encourage that. I tell everyone, take that break during work, go see your therapist, and make sure that your mind is functioning properly so you can show up the best at work for your families, for everything.
Getting the cue, Liz. I view mental health like any kind of checkup. We need to get our mammograms. We need to make sure that, we're getting whatever medication that is. And a number of the athletes recently who brought it to the forefront, female athletes, I give them a lot of credit for their courage because it makes people talk about it. I think of my life and various times that I've gone to see a counselor or a therapist. Life is a fascinating experience, right? And I was dating a man with a child, and I remembered thinking, I've never babysat. I don't really know how to do this. And I went to somebody who explained, well, why don't you go read about it? And then he and I went and talked to somebody. And then later on in life, we had 2 daughters together, and I was really perplexed. They were girls in middle school who were giving us a run for our money. And I went to somebody and said, number one, I'm taking a lateral because I am going to be around because these little girls are going to give us a run for our money. They're delightful girls and women now. To the lateral point when we were talking earlier, but I checked in with somebody to say, I don't really know how to do this. And so that person kind of gave, some advice. And as I've, gotten experience in the work world, I'm a cancer survivor, and I went to a therapist to try to understand, oh my gosh, I'm so scared the cancer will come back. And I lived with that mental headset until I started talking to the counselor, and she said, you can carry it around with you and worry about it, or you can just, realize it's a part of your history. So I strongly believe in mental health, and I think it comes and ebbs and flows as we, mature and go through life.
So as an HR professional, I've always tried to create a safe space for our staff to come to me. And so my hope is that staff, if they are struggling in any way, would come to me and share what's going on so we can then talk about some resources for them. Most of you know about the Employee Assistance Program that most of your jobs should have, so that's a resource. But there may be times as an HR professional where you have to recommend they give you additional information. And what that means is if you have someone that comes and say, I'm really struggling mentally, you have to physically say, hey, it sounds like you may need some time away, but this is how we do that. So from the HR professional standpoint, you just want to be very supportive of staff coming to you and trusting you with this information, because not everybody is. I think COVID blew up mental health in the sense of we started to really recognize our staff struggling or people just being very forward in sharing what was going on for them. At WXXI, we've done a number of things. I wouldn't say we've mastered anything because things change all the time and we have to pivot and do what's necessary in the moment sometimes. But we have a really good wellness committee and they do a lot of great things. And it's not just the mental health, but we talk about physical health, we talk about financial health, because we know the physical and the financial strains can absolutely affect your mental health. And so we want to make sure that we're covering a variety of different things that can happen in people's lives. From a leadership standpoint, I hope, and I know that this is our message as executive staff to our management and directors, that you have to give a damn about your people. So there's no more that this is just about the work. Yes, it is. It keeps the lights on, pays the bills and all that. But you got to care about your people so they can be their whole selves, be well, as you know, my co-panelists talked about, having healthy staff there so they can really produce the output that you want them to do. So,
Thank you. So next, we have a little bit of a long one, and it's 2 parts, so if you need me to repeat it, let me know. Some organizations are managing 4 different generations in their workforce. In what ways is your organization innovating to accommodate the different needs and expectations of this diverse workforce? That's the first part. Second part, what changes do you feel are needed to work more effectively across generations, considering diverse upbringing and communication styles, particularly when engaging with individuals in positions of authority whose backgrounds may vary? I know that was a lot.
That was a lot. So, Xerox is a $7 billion company. My team manages $5 billion of that. So that means that they manage marketing across many, many countries, many languages, many different generations in the context of this question. And they're spread all over the world. This generational question is fascinating to me because at the end of the day, I believe it boils down to people, right? It's not, you know, you're 30 years old or you're 50 years old. It's what's important to you as a person. And so as a people manager, you know, I loved your comment, Stacey, in terms of people management. That's a very different exercise, right? I mean, it is about the people. And so I have spent a lot of time with the people understanding what's going on in their lives. And is it generational? Maybe. Is it somebody's co-chairing a committee and they're want to get home and take out their dog? I remember I was in a meeting once and this woman, she was younger than the rest of us, and she said, it's 5 o'clock and I need to leave and take out my dog. And I looked at her and I was like, wow. But it was a learning moment for me because this is very important to her. And I use that as an example because a couple of us who would never even think of that, much less, oh my God, who's getting the kids off the bus, we were like, wow, you know, she's really balanced. I think maybe we can learn something from her. So I think that it's a learning experience, and it boils down to what does the person need?
Yeah, I think same with us. So at Linden, it's millennials and Gen Z servicing mostly Gen X and baby boomers. So internally, we have a lot of like riffing back and forth, and we maybe use different jargon than we would if we were working with different generations, but we always just show up and give our clients and each other respect. So Gabrielle is servicing a client who's amazing. She is, I think, 79 years old, and she's really helping her with her social media and bringing that to the table, and then in return learning like from this woman's years of being a president of a college, and you know, learning leadership from her. So it's just about respect and learning from each other. And I love working with my Gen Z team members because they teach me how to do trending reels on Instagram, which then helps our Gen X clients make money. So it's great. Yeah, it's just about respect.
And I agree with what has already been shared. The only thing I'll add is that in the space where we are in WXXI, we have long-term staff who's been there almost 30 years to, I've been there a little over 4, but we have folks that's been there a year. And I just want to make sure we have a culture that is respectful, that is welcoming to the creativity, but also sharing with our longer tenure staff that we are not going to lose the history of what you've built and what you bring, but we're just adding a little bit of something with our newer staff to kind of elevate us to where we're going. So,
thank you. And if you ever want to feel old, try to talk to your kids and keep up with what they say. So I'm very excited for our final speaker, Ushi Patel. She will be presenting her workshop on Make Your Mark, the 5 habits of confident, visible, and magnetic brands. Ushi Patel received her undergraduate degree and MBA here at RIT. Thank you. We need that money. She is a designer, speaker, and co-host of the Phoenix podcast, who has earned the name Brand Whisperer from her clients and peers. Her portfolio includes leaders in Fortune 500 companies, social movements, startups, including experts and investors. Her multicultural approach and heartfelt visual storytelling have inspired many. Never able to contain her creativity to just one avenue, Ushi wrote and published Benjamin Franklin Award-winning poetry. In 2016, she gave a TED Talk about how to stay true to who you are. She was recently recognized by LA Style magazine as part of their 2023 Most Influential lineup. Ushi received her MBA here at RIT and was an NCAA All-American volleyball player and the 1999 NCAA Academic All-American National Player of the Year. You'll find Ushi, her husband John, and her little rascals Ryan and Nikhil. Did I get that right? Oh, I'm so proud of myself. Nico, in Austin, Texas, soaking up the sun and beautiful energy. Please join me in welcoming Ushi Patel.
Yeah, you can hear me. All right, let me work this. Doesn't work. Or probably it's the other way around. I don't know how to work it. Good job. Now yes. I am not in IT. Funny story, my entire family of engineering brothers and cousins and IT don't understand me. We're at the dinner table and they're like, what's an artist? Why are you still talking? Nobody cares. And we always argue with the, you might have this in your companies as well, the nobody needs a marketer or brander, everyone needs an engineer. That's the conversation. And I'm always like, how are you gonna make a living? How are you gonna sell what you own? So you and I can talk, you can help me with talk points after with the tech people. So I'm gonna actually talk to you right now. I think that, my job is to talk to you about branding, visibility, putting yourself out there. And what I know from 20 years, 2 decades, 23 years it's been, of talking to all these people she mentioned, Fortune 500 leaders, women and men, movement leaders, former inmates. I talk to former inmates who are reintegrating and they want to brand themselves. There is a commonality, there is some data, there are things that people tell me about what the hurdles are, and I want to check in with you to see that you feel the same, because maybe you all already know how to put yourself out there, and I'm making some assumptions. So I'm going to tell you what I hear, and then I want to hear from you if that's the case, and then I want to show you some of the habits of the confident, the most visible, the magnetic brands that are out there. Fair? Okay. So one, Kim, you brought this up. I don't want to sound arrogant, like I'm bragging. I don't want to sound like a salesperson. Yes? Yes. Riddled with self-doubt or the imposter, despite their list of credentials, impressive list of credentials and certifications and awards. Yeah. Compare themselves to others who they perceive have it all together, right? You could feel super confident, and the second that you see Kim speak, you're like, whoa, do I have something to say? I have something to say. If I'm putting myself out there and I'm true to who I am I going to jeopardize my livelihood? Had that conversation last night, Jackie, in the corner, right there. I'm paralyzed by what I think people will say, how they're judging me. Who does she think she is? And you brought up Nikhil, who's 3, he's Nico. And if you ask him, who do you think you are? He says, I am Nico Barnett. Yeah, and he tells me, I am Nico Barnett. So how do you get, do we all have this same feeling? Yeah? Your professional identity seems at odds with your personal identity. And again, your livelihood is at stake. You're scared about that. You have too many options, too much conflicting advice, you can't keep up. And not only can't keep up, what it looks like to keep up is a level of perfection you don't think that you can attain. Is that true? Yeah. And also the samples that are out there. On one hand, you have brands that are vain and it's all about the person, and you're just eye roll like, hello, I'm here. But on the other side, you're really good at knowing the target audience, but then who are you? So how do you find the middle ground? Do you experience that challenge or that gap? No? No one? Are there any, how many entrepreneurs in the room? I'm doing my own thing. Okay. How many internal entrepreneurs? So I'm at this organization, but what I do is entrepreneurial are in the room. Or maybe you don't identify. Yes. Okay, and then everyone else is within an organization? Yeah? Okay. All right. Then, of course, I'm scared of the haters. It's a real thing. Social media is full of haters. I am afraid of the rejection. Or what if I put all this investment in? What if I say something and I hear crickets? I'm not ready. And then this one, I'm overweight or too wrinkly. This is a surprising, even in the most confident of individuals, will stop themselves from getting on a panel, from getting on video, right? When they need to, they know they have to do it for their career. And it all, no matter how you slice it, I'm not enough. Nobody feels like that anymore because we all said, I am enough today. And the truth is, though, from this kind of frame, nobody is enough. You're never going to be enough. You're going to have 6,000 certifications, 6,000 awards, and still feel like, oh, but so-and-so is so good at talking, and so does this better than me. And so then what do? Can you tell me? Diminish, shift what you believe, right? Make yourself wrong. Think it's for somebody else, right? So that's what I want to do is I've said those. That's what the data tells us. That's what I've experienced in my career, but I want to know who's in the room. What's happening for you? Do we have the mics, yeah? What's happening for you? Do you feel like you're putting yourself out there? Do you feel like it's a hurdle? What stops you? Is it the not knowing how? Do you want to put yourselves out there? No? Yeah?
So I just recently started my own business, and I think my biggest hurdle is not in the overcommitment, but that I won't be able to deliver on what I'm promising a client.
Yeah.
Because life happens, things happen, right? And they are seeking you out for this service or this product, and I'm 100% going in when I'm selling myself.
Mm-hmm.
But then when you actually start the work, you're like, oh shoot, am I really going to be able to do the things, right? And it's not so much imposter, it's like, was I too ambitious or too confident going in, and now reality has hit, right? So that's one of the things I think that prevent me from really being more vocal about what I'm doing or what I'm trying to do.
What are you trying to do?
So I have a consulting business, and it's interesting because we've been talking about capacity building. And so really I'm outsourcing all of my professional experiences that I've had for the last 12, 13 years to help nonprofits and small businesses or struggling entities build capacity to get more things done.
Yeah. Nice. I mean, good feedback from the audience, yeah? Yeah, it's clear. So do you have a history of not coming through?
No comment.
Okay.
I wouldn't say that I do, but sometimes we fall short. We fall short. And that's the reality of the situation. But when somebody's paying for something, right, there's what I asked for and then what I get.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be that next me.
Yeah.
Right? This is what I entered into with this individual, and she promised, but this is what she gave me. Even though that might be what I'm able to give, because they didn't give all the details or really share all the things. And when you're in the thick of it, you know, you deliver what you can deliver. So just a little fair.
Yeah. But you're the brave soul that talked to me, so I'm gonna keep going. Is that okay? Okay. So is this a perception you have that you didn't come through? Somebody said it to you, or it happened? Like it's a fact, Ushi, I didn't come through. And you don't have to tell me the details of it.
It's probably all perception. It's one of those things, and I think our panelists, forgive me, I don't remember your name, the AKA, I apologize, where she talked
Tasha.
about To Shonda, thank you, where she talked about the pressures, the external pressures or perceived pressures.
Yes.
So it's probably all perception, it's probably all in my head, but it's still a thing.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. Anybody else have something that wasn't said yet around some of the hurdles? Well, first of all, I don't know. Do we want to put ourselves out there? Like, do we want to build a brand? Because if you don't, we can talk about other things. Seriously, we want to build a brand? Yes, tell me. Mm-hmm.
Following the rules, okay. So I don't have an interest at this time.
Yes.
As far as having my own business, but I do have an interest of my personal brand though.
Yes.
And so it's always that balance of where my personal brand is and my job.
Mhm.
Am I branding in the benefit of just them, or can people really separate me from my job? You know, because I don't want someone to look at me and just see my job and what I do in my day-to-day.
Mhm.
I need them to see my whole self of what I encompass and who I am. So I'm always fighting that balance of how do I do that in a way that is beneficial to me and them, because that's also important, but more so me.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. You set me up for the next slide really well. Yeah, thank you. I hear that a lot too. Well, I think part of the reason that people, I'm going to say what happened to me. I always felt this, like similarly, brands, the way that conventional branding tells you to brand is to change who you are. It tells you to fake it till you make it. Not all of them. I think there's lots of younger entrepreneurs coming on the scene that don't, but generally speaking, you have to build up this persona, and you build the persona that sounds good. You build up the persona that people tell you to build up. But if you, the fact also is that you're one of a kind and you're always evolving, right? So how do you today, you don't know who you are in 10 years. I think that Liz was saying that you don't know who you're going to be in 10 years. You don't know if something happens in your life. And so if you lay over the traditional branding, what happens is you feel stuck or minimized or typecasted, and you don't know, then you start to become that thing, and you're like, and you wake up one day and you think, what? Where did I go? How did that happen, right? And a lot of the examples out there, like, they're built for volume. This was something that I had to learn, is that you don't need to be an influencer to be successful, and you don't need to be an influencer for people to understand your whole self. You don't need to have a huge marketing funnel, and I think it's one of the big misconceptions. Do you have that misconception? Does anybody have that in this room? Or I haven't thought about it? You do, yeah. I have to post on social media 24 hours a day. I have to have amazing reels. I have to pretend like I don't wear Spanx all the time. I have to, perfection. Yeah. And also the other thing is that, and it's along the same lines, is that what you think might be working isn't really working. A lot of influencers make no money, for example. They influence, maybe, but they don't have a business model, right? So we perceive somebody, you might even perceive that I have a certain level of success because I'm here and you're there, and the juxtaposition of who we are. But you don't know really what's happening unless you ask, unless you're the skeptic, right? So this is what's happening. So this is my way of letting you off the hook. It is an awkward process, personal brand. It is. Where is the student I talked to that I gave a compliment to, and she was like, "This is so awkward." Where are you? Where are you? No, she's not here. Okay. It was like visibly awkward. I was like, "Oh, that's so great. Oh, it's so, yeah, it's an awkward thing." And so what happens, and what I see in the marketplace, is that people start to inch their way forward, and they're not getting the results they want. They might have some success. It doesn't feel good. They're spinning in circles. What's wrong with me? Give up and then do the thing. It's not for me. I'm not going to 409 myself, right? I'm not going to keep going. However, everybody here wants to make their mark. You want to make a contribution. You want to realize your dreams. You have to do it. You have to integrate it. So what do you do if it feels awkward, if you're afraid, if you feel like you don't have the time, but it's tied to your purpose and it's tied to the transformation that you're facilitating for others? Pickle number one. And then pickle number two is that whether you like it or not, you have a brand. Your personal presence is saying something about you, and if it's not intentional, you're leaving it up to everybody else in this room to perceive and to think what they want to think. And probably, if you're in my cycle, I'm all mad about all the guys that thought what they thought about me instead of controlling my own narrative. right? And when I started to control my narrative, things started to change. And so that's why I call this the 5 habits, because, you know, if you don't make it part of your everyday, if you don't, every moment, like I said, I've been the most confident. Oh, I killed that talk. I'm so great. And then I walk into a room and somebody else, I don't know what happens. I look at a bio and I'm like, oh my God, she's so amazing. What a, like, you know. So you gotta do it every day. It's not something that's separate. And so I want us to do a little reframe around your brand that I have to do it. It's a personal skill I must develop, like communication, like budgeting, right? It's a skill you need to develop to have the impact I want. Connect it back to your purpose is the first reframe. Okay, it's it's skill building. Do they have a personal brand course at RIT? I don't think so, yeah? I'm not volunteering to teach it, but I'm just saying that it's a necessary skill. And the second is it's an asset that's going to, when you invest, pay you dividends forever. Forever, right? It is one of the most important things. I think every woman needs a personal brand, right? And some of you do have this conundrum, let's call it that, or this gap or this challenge that you have to tie it back to the organization. But there are ways to do it where your personal brand makes the organization look good, and that's a nice little sweet spot in brand. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to workshop it. We're going to do it here. I want to just let you know where these 5 habits came from. I wanted to find a way where women would stand taller. I would stand taller. I wanted to find a way that they would do it even within their time constraints, even within the fears, and even within the doubts. And so this is where this is coming from. Consistent repetition. This is the consistent repetition I learned back in the athletics, right? If I do things like, I'm not going to play volleyball anymore, and people are constantly like trying to recruit me for their corporate teams, like, you don't know what happens after 30 and 40 to the knees. But, and I haven't taken up golf yet, so I probably should do something where I don't have to jump. But the truth is the form hasn't changed. If I do manage to get out, I started volleyball at 10. So it was 11 years, all day, every day, for 11 years straight. I haven't forgotten, right? So consistent repetition, and then the little actions. I don't think you need to post every day, all day. I don't think the algorithm cares that much about you, whether you post every day or, they do for volume, right? But for who you are and what you want to do in the world, it doesn't matter. So I gathered everything. I gathered everything that my mentors, myself, my clients do successfully. So when the imposter creeps back in, when somebody says something triggering, when you start to compare yourself, when things shift, you have ways to come back to the habits and tools that I'm going to talk about today. And I want you to ask me the questions around the habits and tools today, because what I found is that there's actually nothing new that I'm about to say after this. I had some new things, but mostly I want to give you tools on the how, right? So that you know how to tell people who you are and have the words and the language to show up confidently about this is what I'm doing, this is the transformation I'm facilitating, this is what I want to be known for. So we're going to go right into the first habit, which is see before you are seen. And I'm going to jump down here because I'm going to see myself right now. And I'm going to practice something. And you're going to get annoyed because I'm coming right to the camera. But I want to get back here, and I want to tell you the story of these 2 ladies. So that one on the left, her dad just died of cancer. The one with the headphones. My dad just died of cancer. I have a 2-year-old. I am the breadwinner, so I'm still working. I have no boundaries, Kim B. I have no boundaries for sure. That's Nico. Nico's showing up today. That's little Nico. And it's COVID, pandemic. It's mid-pandemic. And I'm about to make an interstate move. And I actually felt really good. I also birthed Nico in less than 45 minutes, so you could understand the physicality of what I'm trying to recover from there too. Those who have gone through labor. So this is, but I have that really great smile on my face, right? And I'm happy, and I love this woman. But nobody listens to this woman. Nobody does. I want the world to change. I know a lot of you are shifting that for women. But they don't listen to that woman on the left, right? midstream there, LA Style Magazine calls me and says, "Hey, you're going to be part of our most influential lineup." And I was like, "Why? Why? Like, look what I'm doing." And also, oh no, I have to go do this on the right, right? I'm not saying, and I think this is what we often hear, is this woman on the right is what you have to become to have a brand that's confident, visible, and magnetic, right? Now, I love her because she worked out. She looked at that one on the left and took care of her. She, for the first time, didn't do it because she felt like she wasn't enough. She did it because I want to take care of that one that created a human, that one that despite her grief still chose to smile, that one who, despite being tired, said, "Hey, I'm going to show up for myself," right? And so the reason that I put this here is because I hear women a lot say, "I want to be seen, I want people to see me," but I couldn't be seen until I saw myself, right? And for a long time, it was really hard to look at that picture on the left. I was judging her. I wanted her to look like all the cute moms in Facebook, or I don't look at Facebook, actually, Instagram, right? I really wanted her to be something other than she was, right? But it didn't drive me to, for the first time in my life, it didn't drive me to the right, right? So where are you? Right now, I'm probably somewhere in between. Like I said, I have the Spanx on. I ate a lot of chicken wings last night. But tell me, I want you to write it down right now. Do you feel this, first of all? If you feel invisible, it's because you are invisible to yourself. So tell me where you're at. Pens out. We're going to workshop this, right? What part of you is accepting of who you are on the left, or who I was on the left? You're going through hard times. You're expected to show up despite how you feel. You're getting some random acknowledgement, LA style. Like the level of no style at that moment in my life was, it's probably the same yoga pants for like 5 days straight and no shower is what's really happening over there, right? And then where do you feel the pressure to be this other thing on the right? And then who are you, right? So the first tool, and I'm gonna call myself out. Everyone rolls their eyes at this tool. I call it the Book of Beauty. Why do they roll their eyes? Very simple. I want you to start gathering your talents and skills. I want you to start gathering. People call it in the industry. I keep looking at you like you're in my industry, but you're a marketer. I don't know anything about marketing. It's easy and fun. You call Lindsay, yeah. But I want you to create a brag book. This is a book of you. These are the beautiful things that have happened in your life. And I want you to do it right now, in fact, right? When I say here, talents and skills, accomplishments, track record, the stuff that you've got on your resume, the people you know, those relationships that you've built, I want you to start taking an inventory. All the testimonials you have, if you don't have testimonials, it'd be great to get in conversation with the people around you to find out what difference are you really making for them. And then the most important, which is your lived experience. Right? From this to this. I did these things in my life. Right? There's so much of it in this room. And this is the stuff we don't focus on, and this is this thing that makes you stand out in brand, right? I don't want to take away from accomplishments and awards and things like that. I have them. I love them. But the magnetism, the reason people keep coming to me, despite my lack of marketing and despite my lack of social media presence, is because of that last one. They've seen that I'm living proof of the things that I'm saying, right? So start to just, right now I'm probably going to be over time if I keep going in this pace. So what I want you to do is just start, right? Start right now. How many of you have things about yourself that you can list easily? And how many have a blank page? You're not going to raise your hands, but tell me. Give me a nod. You have a blank page, or it was easy for you? You can fill it out. No, that's okay. That's great. I want us to say, yes, I can fill it out. Yeah, and I feel good about a lot of the things that I've been doing. That's awesome. How about anyone else? Yes? You can fill it out. Yeah. Okay, yes. Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Yes? You can fill it out?
I feel like I have a lot of things, like talents and skills, but I need to learn how to decide which one are the most important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna spoiler alert, I'm gonna have you focus on lived experience, right? Because from this to this, like, the other thing is no one really cares what you do. What result can you get them, right? Where can you take them? What bridge can you help them cross, right? So I hear this a lot. I'm multi-talented, I'm multifaceted, I'm multidimensional, right? So anyone who thinks that or feels that intersection is your sweet spot. Where have you done it for yourself, right? So we have so many people, I want to be authentic, but the thing is that's the most precise place of authenticity. I did it for myself, so now I'm going to do it for you. Yeah? All right. And also for the people who can list this out, how does that feel to look at it? I'm going to put you on the spot. What's your name? Kathleen. So Kathleen, you can list this. Did you make it a practice?
I am an executive career coach, so I help people do this.
You help people do this. Yeah. So this is the thing for me. Some people used to say to me that Ushi is so basic. Ushi's so basic, but for me, it's a black and white result, right? The ones that do this, they have the confidence and the visibility, and the ones who think it's like, I don't know, woo-woo or annoying, I don't know what they're thinking, but they're rolling their eyes at me. And I think to myself, that's so interesting. It took me time to demand it from my people and from myself, and then when I did it, I thought, this was so like Daz right in front of my face, the solution, right? So what happens? Does it correlate to what I'm saying? People become more confident. They become more self-assured. Is that true?
Right.
Yeah.
And I'll just say that I work with people who are ambitious and interested in advancing themselves and growing.
Yes.
And so you need to be aware. And it's, responsible career management is about always being ready.
Right.
So if you're not really aware and able to really know yourself and understand where you're going, or at least take the steps to answer the right questions, this is all just context to be able to get there.
Right. But this is the foundation of all brand. You have to see yourself before you're seen, right? Before you put yourself out there, you have to see yourself. So then I'm going to ask you right now also to do a little bit of self-confrontation, call it that, a little self. Where aren't you seeing yourself? Just use it as like a quick journal prompt right now. Where do you think you're not, if any? Where are you not giving yourself credit? If you don't know where you're not giving yourself credit, the other side of that equation is where do I not feel seen? Because that will give you Juliana's favorite word, trailhead, for what you need to go and have a one-on-one with yourself about, right? Yeah. Okay, habit number 2 is design the real you. I'm a designer. How many designers? I know Kelly's here. What else? Who else? Another designer? Yeah. So I'm going to put this statement up here, and I see it all over the place. I hate this statement, be the real you, do you. How many people have heard that statement? Nobody has heard it. Raise your hands. Yeah, be the real you. Do you know who the real you is? Do you? We know the real you is an awesome copywriter. Yeah. Yeah. This is so annoying. If Stacey rolls up at the United board meeting in her yoga pants and says, I'm the real me, what do you think they'll do? What will they do?
Board meeting?
Yeah.
Dress for your day.
Yeah.
That's what that wouldn't happen.
It wouldn't happen because you would respect the context, right? So there's context. I'll get to what this is in a second as a tool, but so there's context. There's you're again evolving. You're different, right? I remember somebody said to me, I was so mad. Wait, she's like, well, you've changed. I'm like, yeah, because life happened and I had to change. So there's a thread to Ushi for sure, right? So you get all caught up in, oh my God, I shouldn't change. I gotta be this. No, change. Design yourself. So this is a mood board. This is the Ushi mood board. This is not a vision board. Well, it kind of works like a vision board. But what I want you to do is okay, you're gonna say, oh, I'm not visual. So you can go call Kelly. No, I'm just kidding. I want you to create a me board. This is me board. And I want you to start designing your visibility. If I know these things in my book of beauty, if this is who I am I becoming? Who are the people I want myself surrounded by? What are the things I want to be doing? Like, I clearly got my own message. I'm wearing red, right? What kind of conversations do I want to be in? What kind of ring do I want my husband to buy? No, it's not. That's not what that is. These women, this one right here, I thought I had a pointer. I'm going to just go right up and point to her. She showed up after I made this board. Multicultural, on a mission. If you're multicultural on a mission, I'm probably going to always take a call from you. It's like my thing. So she showed up. How did she show up? Because I designed the person I wanted to show up. I put the visual and the emotion in my head, and it sticks. And it starts to be what I target in life. It starts to be how I show up naturally because I remember what I saw, right? It is the same principle as a vision board, but in this case, I want it to be more like, what are you drinking? See my cocktail? Or mocktail, whatever. Yeah. It's all. What am I doing? And you know what? How much would you love your clients to give you that, Kelly? Right? Tell people who you are. Get back into relationship with yourself. What do you prefer? What matters to you? How do you want to show up? But if you do it visually, first of all, it's fun. So if you're not a visual person, the thing I do is call the visual friend in your circle, buy them drinks, cook them dinner, do it together, right? Make it fun. It doesn't all have to be so serious, except for sports. Sports should be serious, huh, Jackie? Yeah. Her and I were having a conversation last night about how much is it all about winning and how much is it all about fun? Anyone have the answer? Yeah, for anything in life. How much is it about winning? How much is it about fun? That's okay, you don't have to have the answer. I just thought we would help you out and get the answer. So we're designing the real you. Don't be the real you, design it. Let yourself evolve, let yourself become. Don't be a fixed point. That's uninteresting. It's also just not true of humanity, right? Design the real you. So this is me board. This is going to give you a way to come back home when you feel off center. It's going to help you calibrate. This thing, future pace your identity. We talk about that a lot. When you forget, when you're having a bad day, when that person says something that's not very nice, when you do feel diminished, when you do feel rejected, you can go look at that board and remind yourself, this is who I'm becoming, this is what I'm doing. This is future pacing your identity. And again, this emotional bond that you learn to create in your own head, it is actually the thing that you start to create in the audience as well, right? They start to see themselves and they come, right? Do you have one? Do you have a This Is Me board yet? You have a vision board? Yeah. But I'm going to make an external judgment of you, and then you're going to tell me if I'm right or wrong. So you look well put together, and you look like you are who you are. Is that true? You present as yourself, right? Yeah. So I would say. So how do you? No, you don't have to tell everyone how you do that. What excites me about that is that her question was, how does my personal brand relate to my professional brand? But your personal brand is screaming personal brand by who you are, how you're showing up, right? But I had to check because some people don't feel that about themselves, right? Yeah. Okay, so colors, what's your fonts, your office, who you're surrounded by, who you're serving, what are your clothes, what are the contexts you want to be in? These are your prompts. What feeling do you want people to leave with after meeting you? Right? I used to have the feeling that people used to have is like, she's never going to drop the ball. And I was like, I don't want that feeling anymore. Because what did that mean? A plate full of work all the time. So I have no boundaries. I don't. And I have a plate full of work, and I'm getting rewarded and paid well, and I'm achieving, and I'm getting complimented. Just give me a compliment, I'll do anything for you. So I'm doing all that, and I thought, this is not the brand I want, right? So, is that happening for anyone? Are you being typecasted into something because of the way it seems like it's a positive thing that you're being perceived as, and you're done? I also don't want to be the resilient one anymore either. I was like, oh, life's going to throw me things to be resilient about. I'm done. I'm not the resilient one. Yeah, so you control that, right? So design the real you. Oh, so by the way, since these are habits, you design it once, I want you coming back to it, okay? I don't want you to go and say, that was so cool, I made a design. No, design it, come back to it. Evolve it. Keep checking in with yourself. Who do I want to be? How do I want to show up? What do I want to be known for? Habit 3, flip the script. So this one is about what's happening in here because it will kill your show. These are the stories that you're telling yourself. Notice how nothing has been about tactical visibility. It's all been about you right now. Don't go in the market and try to tell people who you are until you've actually figured that out, right? Or are in an active relationship with yourself to figure it out. Let's say it like that, right? So these are the things I heard along the way. Too hip, too positive, which then like you turn on the news and I'm like, I'm gonna go with too positive, right? Too happy, too smart, too poetic, too Indian, too American, too aggressive, I care too much, I care too little, too ambitious, and the biggest dagger in my heart, too perfect. Oh, I'm a perfectionist, what do you mean? There's no such thing as too perfect. And the trouble with, first of all, write your twos down. Who has some similar twos? People have told you, you're too this, you're too that. Yeah, you've got them, right? Do you know them? If you haven't heard them, you've heard it. So then what's the problem here? The problem is we believed it. Who is to say you're too anything? We believed it. I believed it. I believed I was too Indian at one point. And then I believed I was too American. And I just crack up because it seems so silly now. But in the moment, in the thick of it, I really was trying hard to be very Indian, whatever that means in my head at the time. I'm going to tell you what it means because you might have it going on. It's comical. So like, you know, first of all, my plate's full. I have no color-coded schedule. I'm going crazy. And I decide that at Christmas time, I need to be the one that makes the butter chicken for the X number of people come into my house. And I burn it, and badly. No one cared. There was no takeout. So I was like, now what do I do? We figured it out. But that's silly. What was I doing? What was I doing? So we're like, you know, it causes the overs, the overthinking, the overfunctioning, the overgiving, because we have to just prove them wrong, right? We have to prove them wrong. We have to show them that we're not that we can't be defeated, that we've got it all together, right? So the problem is when you believe them and then you start shifting your life, your behaviors, your actions to be in accordance with this external judgment, really, false judgment of you. And the key for me is that this thing, it's a judgment. It's not a behavioral piece of feedback. It is a judgment, right? One thing is that feedback, if somebody sees something in you and they're giving you a reflection about your blind spot, they're going to tell you the behavior behind it, and you can listen for that. You can listen for the care. So I'm not saying don't listen to people, but if you start to believe these things, then that's where it becomes problematic. So now write down, what are you believing about yourself that someone else told you? Who here has never been judged? Yeah. I think the other thing that's really clear about feedback that is something I need to listen to is that it feels right in my body. It feels right in my body. It can land. I can breathe when I'm in that conversation. If I'm feeling the judgment, this cramps up. And we all have something different. I'm not saying that it's the throat for all of you, but there's a place in your body that will tell you that that's not right. That's not resonant with who I really am. Okay? So the tool here is the reframe. This is a thing that, again, it has to be a habit. It doesn't like go away, right? Something will trigger it. Something comes back. It's always there. It's just how much power you're giving to it, right? So and the reason to me it's so important is because I think you could hire Lindsay and then completely wreck what she does because you don't believe the things she's saying about you in the ads. I see it all the time. Hundreds and thousands of dollars that get washed away because what's happening in somebody's head about themselves, right? Best strategist, best team. So is this happening to you? I mean, not the hundreds of thousands of dollars, but you know, where are you not getting what you want because of what's happening here? And it's partially mindset, but for me, this is really the stories you're telling yourself about what's true and not true about you. So we're going to condition it. And what conditioning is, so reframe is like, you say, I'm going to show you an example of mine, but you say, you okay, fine, this person said I'm to this. This is what I'm going to make it mean about me. I'm going to make it mean something awesome and empowering and what's best about me. And the thing about conditioning, like I do it while I brush my teeth, and it's one of those other ones everyone's eye rolling at me because I'm brushing my teeth and affirming my awesomeness in the morning with my 3-year-old at my foot. Mommy! No, I'm affirming right now, you say. Yeah, right? So here's what it looks like. Make a column. You don't have to do all these, but this is a tool, this is a habit, I want you to come back to it. Somebody says something about you, reframe it, make a definition that's your definition. Let them call you delusional because it's much better for you to be delusional, doing the work you love, making a mark, lighting this world up, than it is to be the person that's liked. Right? So branding is arrogant and vain? No. Branding is an act of gratitude for my gifts and the things that can come to me and only me. Branding is an act of gratitude. You're too ambitious? Yeah, because it's a reflection of how great I am, my capacities, my skills, my abilities. And thank God for ambitious women, because I wouldn't be right here without the ambitious women in my life, right? Yes, I'm too ambitious. Own it. Yes, I am. This one, this is so random, but I put this in here because it really made a difference in my life, right? Money is evil. Money's not evil. Money's a tool. Social media, not evil. It's a tool. How am I going to use that tool? There might be a little bit of justification there at the end, but no, there is. But I don't care because I realized that I do believe this. I think the whole world should invest in me because when it's in my hands, I am going to do great things with it, right? Yeah. So I want you to tell us a different story. And this is the thing. This is where it is so true. Empowerment is an inside job. In fact, the etymology of the word is an inside thing. I can't really empower you, right? You can empower yourself. It comes inside out. So this is the tool. And I'm really, the ones who do this, you will see a result in your life. You can't do it once. Got to do it daily. Do it with your bougie latte. Yeah? Every morning. Ritualize it. That's what I mean. Pair it with something that you're already doing because then you remember. So brush your teeth. Do it with your brushing your teeth. So I'm going to do these two right here, reframe these, because I know this is sort of like the biggest topic that I always hear, imposter and rejection. So for me, the reframe around imposter, well, how many people feel like an imposter? Half the room doesn't. You don't feel like an imposter. I love you. Do you feel like an imposter? No, shaking your head. No, never shows up. Okay, I love it. You got to come speak next year. Yeah. Who doesn't, I'm like half teasing you, but half, yeah, because if you have the lived experience, right? This is what I'm saying. I don't know what you actually do, but if I know that if the imposter doesn't get to you, I want to talk to you. Do you see the magnetism there? Do you see the visibility? Yeah, I want to talk to you, right? That's how you become the most wanted person in the room. You start to share. These are the things that I've crossed that bridge, right? So imposter is my friend. Why is it my friend? Because it's telling me when I am not congruent with what I believe about myself. It is poking me. It is not because it's true, it's because it's not true. That's why the imposter pokes, right? You're lying to yourself that you aren't great. So that's how I want you to reframe the imposter. It will not disappear. You will feel like an imposter in many different situations. It's just like, I don't know, the thing that happens. Double PhD, C-suite at Google. She's telling me she feels like an imposter, and I thought, well, you feel like an imposter. I feel like double, triple, like I was, why? Because I'm comparing myself. But if she's feeling that, then it's there. It's everywhere. Then rejection, it's like, I know I think you must have heard, because it's like one of those memes, like, rejection is, that no is something, not your no, but the no that somebody else gives you is a yes to something else. That's true. But the reframe around it is also great data, because you know where you're not going to spend your time anymore. You know where you're not going to focus your energy, your resource, your ad dollars, your money. You start to see, okay, I don't need to know. The best, I had this mentor who she's so on to the next. I'm like, you're not going to dwell on that. You're not going to think, why didn't that person call me back? You're not going to follow up 13 times. She's like, no. She was like, if they have a no, they have a reason. It's not personal. On to the next, right? Good data. So start to reframe rejection as good data. And I'm going to just do a check-in before I go to the next one. How am I doing on time? Where's the amazing Gabby?
We're 5 minutes over, but you're still good.
No! I have a hungry crowd. Stay on topic? I didn't do that. Okay. Fine. I'll stay on topic. Oh my gosh, this is like, do a lot of work when you're hungry. That's the worst. Okay, stay on topic. This was already said. What do you want to be known for? Why are you the go-to person in X? Okay, get familiar with that. What do you want to be the go-to person for? And then take a look at why you are the go-to person. Do you like that you're the go-to person? Like I said, don't call me for resilience, because I don't need it anymore. I do, and everybody does, but don't call me to be the one that stays up till midnight. I was that girl. Oh, I know you'll always come through and you'll stay up late if you have to. I was like, no, don't want that brand. Okay? So what do you want to be known for? What do you want to be the go-to person for? And then this one here, do write this down. This is for you right there. This is the one I was sharing with you about. What's your name? Sorry. Yeah, you're taking a picture. Take the picture, Simone. Take a picture. So this is where this is your sweet spot, right? You've got your lived experience. You've done it for yourself. You've got the track record. You've done it for others. You have a level of genius. Don't get scared by the word of genius. Everybody has some genius. It's your talents, your skills. It's that thing that you do that you were probably doing when you were born, or you had an affinity for it. And then this fourth one, there also has to be demand. People have to want what you have to give. That's why I asked you right up top, do you even care about building your brand? Imagine when I'm in a room and people are like, no, and I was like, well, I don't have anything to talk about now, so what do I do, right? But you adjust. You have to adjust, right? So find this little sweet spot for yourself. It'll help you to hone in on what you want to be known for. The more specific, the better. The more nuanced, the better, right? So something that's really general is I want to be known for great design. No, I want to be known for design, multicultural design, right? Be as specific as possible. And then right here, we're going to go to the last one, but it's already been said, so I'm going to be quick about it. This thing, okay, well, this is the one I want you to show you first. Okay, this is what people tell you to do your personal brand. I see that and I get very overwhelmed because I try to do it all. I really did. And you don't have to do it all to be successful. And also, if you do all that, then you won't do your job, right? How are you going to make the impact you're going to make doing all these things? You're not. So I'm going to ask you to do one thing, and it's the last habit, which is connect to connect. And you have a coffee, buy somebody some beer, talk to somebody and ask them for help, tell them what it is you're excited about, check in on them, connect to connect, put it in your schedule, 1 hour, mine's on Friday, doesn't have to be in person, can be on whatever, you said Teams, Microsoft Teams, we're Zoom people over here. Not anymore. I work with Google. They don't allow you to get on Zoom. I wonder why. So I want you to forget all that. I mean, I don't want you to forget it. This is right at the right time, at a certain trajectory for a certain goal, okay? At some point, it might be really wise for you to go write that book or start a newsletter and build an email list. It might be really wise for you to start speaking, but it's definitely not possible to do all of it. And the people who are doing all of it, they have big teams, right? They're hiring vendors. So you can't compare yourself to that. So the only thing I want you to walk away with, I'm just gonna go right to the end, is I want you to start doing some of this. So right now, I was gonna, if there was time, make you do it right now. Go get a date. I'm gonna make you do it. Stand up, go get a date. I want you to get up, I want you to connect with somebody, and I want you to schedule something where you can connect with somebody so that you don't walk out of this room not building your brand. So stand up. All right, so if you want to, I'm just going to leave this up here. I'm out. Chase me off the stage. I'm out. No, because I am enough. It's not. That is all. Yeah. So just take a picture of this. I'm going. Have a great lunch. Thank you very much. Do it. Do it. That's somebody else's brand. They took it. They didn't take it. They didn't. All right. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. Take this off.
Thank you, Ushi, for that enjoyable workshop. I know we got you a little over for lunch. I'm creeping up over here like an RG&E bill. But before we let you get some food, more food, does everybody feel well fed? I feel like I just got some calories through osmosis just from all this stuff. But it's great. Feed people, makes them happy. All right. So thank you to everyone for coming. Please know that we have a wonderful Power Bowl lunch for you. Now, if you don't put all the stuff in there, it's like a weak bowl. So try to put as much as you can. So this concludes the formal portion for the 14th Annual Power Your Potential Women's Leadership Conference. And we hope that this morning encouraged you and invigorated you. And for those of you continuing on through our Women's Weekend, we will see you again tomorrow for our Women's Leadership Summit. But before we leave, we have a drawing. Oh, I'm picking?
You want me to pick? I can pick.
I'll pick.
Yeah, I love that. I will get.
Whoever gets it, I get the bottle. Look at. Jessica Chatterton. The fact that Chatterton is your name and chatter is in your name is amazing. Some people have boring names like Lane. Okay, so we are done. Go get a Power Bowl. It's not a weak bowl if you put half the stuff in it, but do your best. And thank you all. Have a wonderful afternoon. Thank you to the committee for putting everything together. I hope you enjoyed your day, and I hope to see all of you on campus.